Welcome back to MovieTrailerReviews.net. Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. MTRNetwork.net, Movie Trailer Reviews Podcast. Gotta get that right. This is your host, Chris, and I got Phenom on the line here. We are going to review latest film from Kathryn Bigelow. It is called Detroit. Amidst the chaos of the Detroit Rebellion, with the city under curfew and as the Michigan National Guard patrol the streets, 3 young African-American men were murdered at the Algiers Motel. The stars John Boyega, Anthony Mackie. Although they're not the leads in this film. I'd say Algiers
leads in the film?
Right. It's very weird. They promote John Boyega more as a lead in everything you see him in because he's not. If anything, the story follows Algie Smith, who plays Larry Cleveland, and Jacob Lattimore, who plays Fred. Those are, they're not, again, not leads per se, but I would say that the film follows more along their storyline, I guess. In the film, it's a very oddly put together film that we'll get into here. It does follow the real life events that happened at the Algiers Motel.
The incomplete, conclusive story due to lack of evidence and witnesses.
I'm gonna say that for the end because when they get to that I think that was the final straw for me with this film when they did that shit. Because here's the thing, all right. I think if I remove all my blackness.
Wait, time out. Okay. Time out. I'm sorry, Chris. I'm sorry. Did you read the description of this?
Mm-hmm. The synopsis?
The part where it says a police raid in Detroit in 1967 results in one of the largest race riots in the United States history.
That's not the one on IMDb.
That's what I got. It's at the bottom. Like where it says storyline, it says.
Oh, I think somebody else wrote that, added it in there because. Well, okay. So here's the thing. That technically is true for the rights, but that's not what this film is about. This film is only about the. But okay, it's kind of both because they do show you that raid and they do show you that the riots start. They show you that the beginning of the film is that the beginning of the film is. The raid on what was it called? I can't remember what the name.
Algiers.
No, not the hotel. They show you the raid on the
club.
It was the illegal club that they were showing they were having alcohol in. That happens at the beginning of the film. They show you the lead up and why they brought the National Guard in. They do that. That's the first probably 20, 30 minutes of the film. Yep. Then they go into introducing you to Larry and Jacob Lattimore's character, Fred, and that goes into how they got to the Algiers Motel, and then you get the Algiers Hotel thing. So it's like
the bar was known as Blind Pig.
There we go, the Blind Pig. I couldn't remember what it was called. Yeah. So they do show you that. They show you the lead up to it. They show you that the tensions have risen and that this is what was going on, and they kind of give you the background of. I guess they're trying to give you the background of what the mood in the city of Detroit was at that time and what's going on there. So let's start there, though, because that's where my first problem came in with this film. There's that one point in this film where, like, I remember when during like Ferguson and things like that, people would see the National Guard would roll in with their armored tanks and the police would roll in with their armored vehicles, and people would call them tanks, and I'd be like, those aren't tanks. Like, and that was me being an asshole, but it was like I like sometimes being specific on certain things. I'm like, those aren't tanks, those are armored vehicles. The reason why I say that is because in this movie they actually show you the National Guard rolling through the streets of Detroit in actual tanks, like legit tanks, not armored vehicles. Tanks, and at one point on one of these tanks, they show on a National Guardsman with a 50 caliber rifle shooting at a young girl in a window because he thought it was a sniper. I knew that I was going to have a problem with this film when they do nothing with that.
Nope, they just completely glossed over it. Like, well, guess that girl's dead, and they just keep it moving with news reports and stuff. Like,
yeah, they literally show and so at that point you realize it's like, I don't think that this film is going to do what you guys think it's going to do. Because I've been seeing some of the interviews where like, we think this is going to start a conversation on race and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't think that film is going to do what you think it's going to do because
what conversation on race?
Because
there has to have been a white person that said that. There's no way a brother or a sister said after seeing this film said that it would start a conversation on race. There's no way.
First of all, if seeing the images that came out of Ferguson and Baltimore and things like that didn't start a conversation on race, there's no way this fucking film is going to do that.
What
I mean, that's exactly like if seeing in 2017, you know, the National Guard and police tear gassing kids isn't enough, and people in their own fucking yards is going to start a conversation on race. This film is not going to do that. So that's number one.
People in the fucking back when they're running away from you, because how else are we supposed to stop looters? We got to get them off the streets, right? We got to shoot them in the fucking back because we're fucking fat ass cops and we can't run fast enough to catch that sporty Negro. Like, bruh. So this film did nothing for me but show me that ain't shit changed, and that black people have the fucking tolerance of Mount Goddamn Everest. Like, I just, the whole time I'm watching this film, I just kept asking myself, I don't understand why I don't punch random white people in the face after it, like, just for all the shit that's happened to us throughout history, and seeing that absolutely, to an extent, nothing has changed when it comes to certain areas. Like, nothing has changed. It went from fucking Detroit to fucking Ferguson. Like, nothing has fucking changed. And I don't know what I was supposed to get from this movie. Was I supposed to feel defeated as a person? Like, what am I supposed to feel that what all the labor and work we're out here doing is for nothing? Because 40 years from now, there'll be another Ferguson or Detroit.
And that's the problem with this film. The problem with this film is, unlike other films, like I've heard people say all the time they don't want to see slave narrative films and they don't want to see that. Like, here's the thing. I've even seen, like, and I've stayed out of this conversation, the whole conversation about HBO and Confederate. Like, I understand everybody's, like, apprehension over Confederate. First of all, it's coming from the same guys who couldn't understand, took 5 seasons for them to understand what rape was on Game of Thrones. So I totally understand that. I'm actually more willing to give Confederate a chance. I think I'll take more things like Confederate than I would Detroit, because in Confederate, you can kind of see how I can envision how the storyline in that show would show black people fighting back and getting some kind of black empowerment out of that. I can see that. I understand what some people can't, but I can see that. What people need to understand about Detroit and what they decided to show in this film and the Algiers Motel incident, this is a story where the bad guy wins. And nothing good comes out of it. You watch an entire film of basically, you know, it's about 90 minutes of watching police be the most horrible piece of shit you could ever imagine. And
police, the army, the state police,
the local police, right. And nothing happens to them. Nothing happens to them. And again, this is not me spoiling this, because again, this is a real life event. These police, just like today, they got off. They walked free. The only thing that happened to I think one of them got
sued by the family.
Got sued by the family and had to pay $5,000. That was it. Everything else in this movie is depressing. I think Larry Cleveland, the guy played by I can't remember the guy's name. He plays him. His character. What happens to that character? He was going to be a member of the dramatic. He was lead singer of the Dramatics, and he was so traumatized by this event, he quit the band that later goes on to be successful. He quits them because he's so traumatized by what happened during this event. This is a depressing story where no black person wins. Except for Melvin Dismuke, but I'll get into that later. But that's what this film is. Like, this film, the way they set this film up, the way Kathryn Bigelow and whoever wrote this film set this film up, they set this film up so that it's not a story of resistance. It's not a story of and it's not an empowering story. It's not a story that tells you this is how. It's just a story that tells you, hey, yeah, these cops are fucked up. They got away with it, and well, nothing really happened to them. The end. That's what this story is. And there are so many different ways they could have told this, so it didn't go this way. They could have told this story like they've done in other past by telling it from the point of view of the trial, and presenting evidence that way, and really showing. They don't do that. They spend about maybe 10 minutes. They spend about 10 minutes on the trial, and if you read about this incident, what happened with this. There are actually 3 different trials, and not all of the cops and Dismuke, who was a security guard, were tried at the same time. But they condense all that part in this movie. They condense all that shit. It's just this movie. Fucking.
Like, I'm watching it, and I think I was like this morning when I was getting dressed and I was thinking about this movie, because I had to go to work, right, in a place that's 90% white males. After watching this movie where I'm being reminded that despite 40 years of progression, I still can't do anything if a white male in a blue suit decides that I'm a fucking thug, criminal, nigga ass, piece of shit, black ass piece of shit. Like, there's nothing I can do, right? I hope that he finds grace after beating the shit out of me not to kill me. Like, that's what I should pray for, right? Because as I'm thinking of that, I think the reason that this film is just 220% depressing and doesn't have a lot of redeeming quality outside of the good acting, which honestly, I'm sorry, I don't agree that the acting was done that well, but that's just me. My biggest issue with this film is that they don't develop the black characters who end up being murdered in this film.
Nope.
Like, you don't know anything about these boys.
Nope.
To the point that when parents of these kids start showing up, I didn't know what parent belonged to which kid. Fucking Chris from The Wire is in this shit, and I had no idea whose father he plays in this movie. They just kept saying, your son is dead. And I was like, but which boy? Because you didn't develop these characters. They didn't even have names. Half it, I think they lined up like 6 or 7 boys. 5 of them didn't have names, man. I didn't know who they were. They didn't develop them as people. They spent more time developing these fucking cops in this movie than they did the black characters. And they spent more time showing you the riots. And I feel like they showed you an equal amount of look at black people destroying their own shit and look at white people either not caring or killing black people.
Why can't we all just come together? Yeah, why can't we all just come together?
It's the most fucking liberal piece of shit I've ever seen of spliced together news coverage, right? To make everybody feel like, see, nobody's doing the right thing. The blacks are looting and the whites are killing the niggas. Like, it's just, there's none of that, right? There's small moments of white people reminding white people that black people are people. But those white people are pieces of shit in the end and don't end up doing any fucking thing any goddamn way. To the point where they treat other white people like shit. So what the fuck is the point? And there's a whole lot of time in this film with the 3 white characters that they develop that they spent a lot of time trying to build some type of empathy for these sons of bitches who are just some cowardless, dickless, fucking badge-toting piss motherfucking ants. Like, I swear to God, this movie made me so goddamn mad when they had those little side conversations with each other, and you're just doing the right thing. You're a good person, man. You know, that black asshole nigger had to die. Like I'm sitting here and I'm having to listen to this while I'm either listening to young black men whimper in the background, or
he's not lying about that either. He's not lying about that. He's not lying about that. They you get like this is black trauma on 1,000.
Drove me crazy. And I swear to God, if they make this fucking nigga sing one more time in this goddamn movie while I'm watching them being beat to hell and hit in the face with the butt of guns like bones don't break, my nigga, it drove me insane. This motherfucker sung. He sung for no reason behind the curtain while a performance was going on. He sung on an empty stage. When they got to the house, he sang in front of the white girl. That is another thing that just rubbed me the wrong way. They made all these black boys dumb as hell during a race riot. Y'all hanging around a bunch of fucking white girls and trigger happy cops. Okay, I get that niggas do that, but that really just irked me.
That did happen. I mean, to be fair, that did happen.
It did happen, but it irked me to like them having to show that. Like it's all these moments in this film where I could see motherfucking black people watching this film and going, niggas wouldn't have died if they hadn't did that. Niggas should have known better than to do that. Niggas should have known better than to do that. There's so many of those you made bad decisions in a bad situation moments, right? You can't even dispel that. There are bad decisions to be made in horrible situations, right? And I feel like the black characters in this film constantly made nothing but bad fucking decisions in an inevitable deadly situation for them. But to go back to the old boy that's singing, he sings behind the curtain, he sings on stage, he sings in front of these white girls that he ends up kissing all up on, and then they make him sing gospel fucking music as they beat the other black boys.
Tell them they're going to kill them. Yeah.
God, I was so livid during this goddamn movie. It is one of the first times I've ever felt like getting up and walking out of a film that has a 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, because white people love watching black torture porn. They fucking love it, and I'm tired of that shit. I'm so sick of it. They go to see this film and they're like, oh, look at the struggle. This is horrible that this happens. And then when this shit happens in the fucking news or in the street tomorrow, they'll be the same ones arguing with you about, well, maybe it's something that black people could do different to kind of help themselves in these situations. They'll be the same fucking people that will either be weird to you in public or act all sadiddy or white diddy with you, like white sadiddy, and treat you differently because you're black, but then we'll watch this fucking film and be like, I'm so glad I'm one of the good ones.
Well, and I think that's the problem with this film. Like the problem with this film is that it's not for black people. Like, no black person should want to go and watch this film, because it's not like. And again, I understand when people say they don't want to go. Black people say I don't want to go watch, a slave film. Well, when people got mad at Django and stuff like that, that's cool. But here's the thing. In all those films, almost every one of those films, you see black people getting back at white people. At some point, you get that. And you can have your problems with some of these other films and what goes on with it. You get that. That does not happen in this film. You get no moment like that in this film. And I get, like, it's even down to the part of, and this is what really bothers me, because I've read a lot about, I read this before this movie came out, and I was very interested in seeing how they were going to, because I was getting a lot of promotional materials for this movie, Detroit. Like, they are pushing this film super, super hard. I want to say it's also around the times, it's being released around the time of, no, it's not. I guess it's being released around the time of the anniversary of the riot, because, I guess it's the 50th year anniversary because the riots happened around, and I think the Algiers Motel incident happened around July 25th. So it's being released, and they even moved up the release date of in Baltimore to this Friday to match that. So I've been doing a lot of reading on this thing, and what struck me always about in the trailer and things like that was how much they were giving attention to John Boyega's character. Because John Boyega's character, it plays Melvin Dismukes. And he was also charged with the white cops in this. And what they don't tell you is, and the film makes it seem like Dismukes was an unwilling participant and he was the one that's helping the black people out. He's trying to be the bridge. He's trying to stop these guys from doing this and trying to keep some of these black kids alive. What you find out later, and even down to when they charge him in the film, they make it seem like he's being railroaded because he's black. What you find out when you read up what actually happened is the Black Panther Party didn't fuck with Dismuke because they felt like he was just as much part of this as the white cops were. He was charged with assault, not just with the murders, but also with assault. Because that's something else they don't tell you, that there were separate trials for different people being charged for murders, and different people being charged for assault. And Jason Mitchell's character, who, I just gotta say, Jason Mitchell put on a lot of weight for this because I did not recognize him as Jason Mitchell, plays Carl. Carl's death was never prosecuted, ever. But they don't make that distinction in this film, really. they don't really come out and tell you who's being charged with what, and they don't show you the problems with, like I don't want to say it's whitewashed as a black character, but they put certain emphasis on certain things in this film, and when you realize, and then they throw this cop out of the end on some, well, you know, we cannot be 100% accurate on what happened in this film. Like, but you got really accurate when it came to hitting black kids in the face with butts of guns. And you got really accurate with the violence against black people in this film. You were really accurate in certain aspects of this film, but not in other ones. Like, you weren't really accurate when it came to the court case. You weren't really accurate, and you kind of, you know, yada yada, you know, the families, and even introducing us to the families. Like you said, we don't find out some of these people have families and people that miss them until they're fucking dead.
I don't know who this, and I said this on the podcast. Like, if you want to hear more in depth, me going off, you can go listen to 40 Acres podcast, episode 573. I don't know who the fuck they're making these movies for, because with the all black casting and the singing and the stuff in it and the soundtrack and it calling it Detroit and pushing the media, they are selling it to black people. They want to get the black audiences to go watch this.
And I'm telling you, if you're black, don't go watch this fucking film. I'm sorry, I'm gonna tell you, don't.
White people. It is supposed to be for white people, because I refuse to believe that you think black people need to watch the suffering of black people to understand the state of blackness in this country. Like that if that's what you think, fuck you. Like that's not what we need, okay? I'm so goddamn, and of course, a white woman who directed it and a white man who wrote it, and I'm just like, who are you telling this story to? And the critics are giving it amazing ratings, and people are talking about how fucking good it is and all this bullshit. Dude, we have seen we see this shit on the news every day. This film don't change a thing. All you doing is telling these stories, and if and that's where it goes back to the development of the characters. If the point of this film is for you to tell the story of what happened to these kids, because they're kids, if that is the point, why the fuck didn't you tell the story of these fucking kids? That's not what you did. You told the story of these fucking cops. That's what you told the story of.
All the people who, I mean, because even John Boyega, like it's
the one singer from the Dramatics,
yeah,
like,
but barely. I mean, it's just, again, I'll go back to what I said before. Like, I get everybody's complaints about HBO and Confederate. 100% get that. Here's the thing. Detroit is worse. Detroit is so much worse. So much worse than that. Like, this film, I've even seen people complain about the lack of black women in this film, and I get that. I'm not gonna sit there and say that black women don't have a complaint about that, but for the complaint should be because of the story they told. Like, there's a way to get black women in this film, and it's if you focus on the trial and you focus on the pain of the parents. Because at one point in the film, one of the killed kid's mom does say something. It's like, if you put the focus on them, then this could have worked. But it's not there. Like, the film they made, it's not the lack of, I'm sorry, it's not the lack of black women in this film that makes it so bad. It's the focus of what they did. It's the idea of that we need to watch this, and somehow this is gonna, like you said, I don't know who this film was fucking made for. I don't know who wants to.
White people that aren't gonna go see it,
right?
And if they do go see it, it's the same people that watch The Help and every other black film that feel like they're the good ones. I don't understand why you are forcing black people to watch films that make us question why we're even cool with white people at all.
That's what this film does. It really does.
I feel like it's very dangerous. I feel like you're treading a very dangerous line, sending black people to watch a film where there's not one redeemable white person in the movie. That's not, and then we got to go out into this 67% white country. I don't think that's again fair to black people. I don't think it's fair to white people, and I don't think it's safe. And I think it's unnecessary and egregious. Like, I just don't understand what your point was with this film. When we left the theater, and I was livid, and I was talking to Ashley, and Ashley was kind of like, well, you have films like this, and then like Fruitvale Station. And that's where I got the character development stuff from. That's where it clicked, because Fruitvale Station is another film where you see no redeemable person in a law enforcement suit. So it makes you question why you should ever dial 911 for anything, why you should ever trust people in suits with badges anytime. Mm-hmm. But the difference between this film and Fruitvale Station, despite you knowing what's going to happen at the end of Fruitvale Station, because you're going to cry, the difference is that they spent the first 100 minutes of that movie developing the actual character who gets murdered in the end. So Oscar Grant's character, his story is told. You get to see what type of brother he is. You get to see what type of son he is. You get to see what type of friend he is. You get to see that he's not perfect, that he's been through the struggle, that he's made bad mistakes, but that he is fucking human. You don't get that from the characters in this film. You're told they're humans constantly. You're told they're people constantly. But when it's time for you to actually know the names of these kids, you don't know.
Oh, you know what? I got even worse for you. You know what they did? And the more when you start talking about that and talking about Fruitvale Station, again, that's still a film I have not seen. Because I know it's good. I know what happened. But it's like I was like, I can't watch that film. You know what they did with Algie Smith's character Larry? They make him the character, the slick talking, womanizing black dude who doesn't care about anything. And then they literally break him down to him becoming the church singing choir boy because of the experience he goes through. They break him. They make him.
You realize my man went from living at home with his family to eating cold soup, right?
Yeah, they make him.
When did that happen?
They make him Toby, yo.
They said they cut this man's foot off. Like, when did that happen? This film doesn't make any fucking sense.
And again, it's one thing if you're going to do again, based off a true story, I get that. But they make a point of letting you know that they dramatize a lot of things. So it's interesting what you choose to dramatize in this film. And it seems that they go really hard when it comes time to dramatizing black pain and stretching that shit out. And boy, do they stretch that shit out. Because here's the thing, they also say that we find out there's a lot of conflicting reports on what actually happened in the hotel, right? But this film goes into a brutal detail of what happened in the hotel and their idea of what happened in the hotel. And surprise, surprise, it's all brutalizing black people,
It's all torture.
Yeah. So
I don't understand. I don't think anybody needs to see this film. There are much better films that show the brutality of white people towards black people and us going through this struggle and the riots and the civil rights marches. There are much better, well done. I would show a school Selma 10 times before I'd ever show them this fucking movie. It just, because I feel I just
watched Marshall. I just watched Marshall. They have a way of doing that.
I don't know. Like, if I showed this to a mixed classroom of kids, and at the end a black kid punched a little white kid in the face, what did you think was going to happen? There's even in those films, it shows white people that were on our side coming to our defense. This film just shows us as these fucking animals in Detroit who don't get support from anyone. I think there are 2 cops who are like, who would do this to a person? Well, I mean, it is a nigga. You work on a force with him. What do you mean, who would do it? It's the same people you invite over for Thanksgiving and you share a cup of coffee with and donuts every fucking day. It's the people you ride around with in the car. The obliviousness of white people throughout this film also blows my mind, because white people have never, ever in the creation and the life of white people been this fucking stupid and oblivious. Ever.
Yo, I love the part
And
where the one cop.
know.
I love the part where the one cop. I think it's played by who's Will Poulter. He shoots and kills a black person in the back, and the homicide detective goes, "I'm recommending charges for murder," and he just storms off like, "Fine, fuck it."
Now
And
get back out there on the street.
He's back there on the street. Yeah, I'm like, so you just gonna like you could have like just narratively. I know in reality he probably he did that in time, but in reality there probably was a little investigation. It was close. Something like, he didn't just end up back on the street like that. Like they
Chris,
yada so much fucking shit in this goddamn film.
Shot a black kid. He shot a black kid, and this black kid he shoots is Tyler Williams or whatever. He shoots him in the back. Goes in. His lead officer or whatever, detective, chief, whatever, is like Chris said, I'm bringing you up on murder. I'm recommending murder charges. And he's like, okay. And then he leaves, and literally the next black person he sees, he shoots him in the fucking back with a shotgun. You just shot a nigga in the back with a shotgun and got reprimanded for it, told you were being brought up on murder charges. They let you keep the gun and the badge and the keys to your car, and they let you lead a patrol team up into this motel full of black people. I don't even know how they got there so fucking fast, but for the Army's right down the street, but fuck these questions because they don't matter, right? In the scope of this screenplay. And the first thing he does is shoot another black man in the back.
Well, I'm sorry, if you're already fictionalizing things in the film, again, it's just interesting how they chose to do certain things and show certain things. You could have just avoided showing something again.
I swear to God, this is like I don't think after watching this I can even watch the episode of Boondocks where Sam Jackson and Charlie Murphy are playing the two white dudes robbing a convenience store, and they convince the cop that he sees a gun. Because that's supposed to be satire, but nope, that really be happening. These cops really were looking for a gun that did not exist. Oh my God.
And again, a lot of this is is the event that happened and the incident that happened with the murder of these three black men is real. I'm calling into question the direction and the writing of how they dramatize this film and what they chose to show. And again, I think this is some of the concerns that people had, particularly black women who were bringing up about them not having black women in this film. Like the race riot was a huge thing, and you start the film off with talking about the race riots, and you do things like you literally blow up a little black girl with a tank rolling through the streets in Detroit. But yet until you're playing on the radio, the things of, oh, well, they're destroying their own city. They're just doing all this stuff. These thugs.
In this film, the dude put his hand all up her ass.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm.
You know what? This is just not, if you work in corporate America, don't go watch this film. Don't take your black ass to the theater and watch this. Don't do it to yourself. Because you really do know good white people, and this film will make you question every fucking relationship. It just does.
Yeah, it's just a film you're not going to want to watch. I'm sorry.
You won't be able to explain it to them. You will not be able to explain it to anybody that is not black because they just won't get it.
I can't even give this film a score. I don't know what the score, because honestly, I if you're black, you're not going to want to watch this fucking film. I didn't want to go to this film. I text Fee and I'm like, yo, you gonna go to the screener? Because I was like, something just told me, it was like, you don't need to go to the screener. You said you were going. I'm like, fuck it, all right, I'll go.
I should have stayed home and played Neo or something.
Right, and it's just like, I went against my better judgment to go see this fucking film, just because it's been getting rave reviews. It's been getting all the stuff. It has John Boyega in it. I've been wanting to see it, and I like John Boyega as an actor. I've been wanting to see him or something, and it's just like, I'm like, all right, fuck it, I'm gonna go and see it. Right? It's got a black cast, it's got these black men in it. We go see this fucking film, and I'm sitting there going, after 30 minutes, I was like looking at my watch, going, how much longer do I have to sit through this shit? And it's a long fucking film. This is 2 hours and 23 minutes. This is a goddamn superhero film for racist white cops. That's what this fucking film is. You're sitting there for 2 hours and 23 minutes of base, and a good 90 minutes to 2 hours of that is watching white cops, beat up, shoot, kill black people, knowing that at the end of the day, they get away with it. And there's no social commentary. There's no linking. Like, I want to say someone did this, maybe someone didn't, but there's no. I know there's some special cameos at the end of Marshall, and I'm not going to spoil it for you now. But there's some special cameos in Marshall that tie into the current day atmosphere. I think some other films do that. They tie into the current things we're dealing with. This film doesn't even have things like that. They don't tie into. They don't go into. And these things still happen today. And these are. It doesn't do any of that shit. Because here's the thing: who made this film? You're not talking about the actors, but Kathryn Bigelow and the writers didn't give a shit. They didn't. They didn't care.
Bruh, fucking Will Poulter.
It's written by a white guy too. So there you go.
Yeah, I'm saying Mark Boal wrote it. It's written by the same person that's worked with Kathryn Bigelow on Hurt Locker and 30 Zero Dark 30 and all those other films that people have issues with. Will Poulter plays the main piece of shit cop in this movie.
He does it too well.
I have liked this kid in everything I've seen.
He does it way too well.
But at the end of this film, he gives the most ha nigger smirk to the screen. And I swear to God, I kept like at the moment I was like, I wonder if they would ban me from Comic-Con if I punched him in his fucking face if I ever had the chance to interview him. Because now when I look at him, that is the face I'm going to see. The fucking I killed your friend and nothing's going to happen to me because I'm white and you're a nigger. Mm-hmm. Smirk that he had at the end of this film. This is the most what can you black people do film of 2017.
Yeah, it's just not a film for anybody to watch. Like, yeah, we're not giving this a score.
I am. It's a fuck you. Fuck this. That man. Good acting and quality shot film can get a fuck you too. Fuck this movie.
It's not for any black people person I know. I don't know anybody's gonna want to sit through this. It's 2 hours and 23 minutes of this shit. It's not gonna.
I don't even know why white people want to take these roles in films anymore. Will Poulter, for God's sakes, was raised by an Anglo family in Kenya. Like, I just don't understand why anybody would want to take these roles of saying nigger as many times as they said it in this fucking movie. I get it, and it's a trade and it's an art and it's this is the thinnest line. This is the thinnest blurred line of art depicting reality. Okay. So, and then to have the Uncle Tom nigga in it with John Boyega playing that,
which is really what he plays, and it's like they try to downplay it, but this is literally what he was thought of as, and thought. I mean he was brought up on charges, just as quickly as the white cops, because again they downplay so much of what is said that he did in this film in reality. And again, it's whatever.
But they opened the film up showing dirty niggas. Conspiring against falsely imprisoning other black people in Detroit. It opens up that way. And then it ends with one of the niggas that claims to be the good nigga trying to save these lost black boys caught in this white war on Detroit, who is like one character refers to him constantly as Uncle Tom. Then he ends up being the not me, sub master, I swears it won't me, nigga of the film. And they just had to make it John Boyega. Yeah, this movie gets a fuck you.
There you guys have it, guys. Don't go watch this fucking film. Anyway, rest of our film reviews you can find at Movie Trailer Reviews on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play Music. We're all there. Even Stitcher now is working correctly. So we are not going to have an Insanity Check this weekend, but next week I'll have the Insanity Check will be back. I'll have D-Palm on. I know Shanna and the doctor are going to be doing Super Tuesday recap. We'll be getting. We go to our YouTube page, MTR Network on YouTube. We have plenty of videos coming out. We just put all our Van Helsing one-on-ones. Shannon got one-on-one interviews with the cast of Van Helsing. They're all up there right now. We'll hopefully get Black Lightning this weekend, Dark Matter some more. We have Inhumans coming. We have a one-on-one. I kind of messed up the video for it, but we have the audio for it now. For something else, we have a one-on-one with McCad Brooks, who plays Jimmy Olsen on Supergirl. I mean, there's a lot of stuff we got coming out. And that doesn't even get into the audio stuff that I have to transcribe. I'm going to be writing articles for. So just go to mtrnetwork.net. Top, you'll see a Comic-Con Central link. Click on that, and you will be able to get all of our Comic-Con stuff, not just for San Diego Comic-Con, but upcoming New York Comic-Con. And everything we got coming out will always be on that page. You can find it all in one place. Check that out there. And, stay tuned. Plenty of stuff coming out on the network. So, again, folks, thank you very much for listening. And until next time, we are out of here. Peace.
Peace.